life for my sake will find it. The gospel of the Lord.
Apprehend God in all things, for God is in all things. Every single creature is filled with God and is a book about God. Amen. Well, happy Father's Day. And when I say happy Father's Day, I mean fathers who are biological fathers, but then people who've played that role, whatever your gender, played a father's kind of role for somebody. So happy Father's Day. That should include everybody, right? Just about. And that's probably about all you're going to get. So on Mother's Day, everybody gets a carnation and stuff like that. You get up, if you look in the upper right-hand part of the bulletin, it says Happy Father's Day. That's what you get. Okay. But you also got that gospel for Father's Day, right? Wow, man, good for you. What are you going to do with that? All right. Can I see your bulletin just for a second? Thanks. I'm not sure if this gospel says anything to you about Father's Day, but there is a part of it that says something to me about it. And it's this part, the part that says, "Do not think that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to set a man against his father and a daughter against her mother," and that whole line. Here you go. Thank you. So that whole thing, which means for me anyway, reading that, I'm not going to take something like that literally. Cults take that literally and use it to separate families. So I'm not going to do that, all right? Because I think the gospel is trying to push at something deeper than simply what it might look like on the surface. And what it means to me is this: a son is not an extension of his father's life. A son is not an extension of his father's life. And a daughter is not a replication of her mother's life. A daughter is not a replication of her father's life. Each of us, I think the gospel is pointing us toward, each of us is an individual, created in the image of God. And each of us has the gift and responsibility to live our own individual lives. We're not intended to live our father's lives or our mother's lives, but our life. So to lose and find our lives over and over again means just that. To lose and find your life. Not the life somebody else has for you. Your life. Or another way to put it is this, and this is for Father's Day. Another way to put it is this: a father's job isn't to form their children in their own image. That's not what a father's supposed to do. A father's job is to recognize who their children are and support who they are becoming. Father's job is to recognize and support who their children are and who they are becoming. Okay, so for me, it's like this. Some of you know this story a little bit. My dad's an Episcopal priest, so I grew up in the Episcopal Church as a PK. PK. Fun times being a PK. Okay? And the reason I say that is because a lot of times people put a lot on clergy kids. Like we're supposed to be perfect or something like that. And I was far from that, right? So what I knew about, my father and I are different people, very different people. We got along pretty well, all in all, but we function differently. And so it's a huge surprise to me at 18 when I started thinking about what I might want to do with my life, when entering into the priesthood started to percolate within me. The last thing I wanted to do. The last thing I wanted to do. So I pushed it far, far away, as far as I could. And I went off to college to prove to God and everybody else that I was not meant to be an Episcopal priest. Know what I mean? Okay? And I was doing a pretty good job. But then by my senior year, I was studying to be a teacher and a coach. I wanted to coach basketball. And so while I was studying, I also spend time, I would go to church occasionally in college, and I always prayed. I always used some sort of, like a forward day by day or something to help me each day to pray. I always did that my whole life. And I was praying one day about what to do, what not to do, and this just percolated up again. And the reason is because I went to be a teacher, but what I kept having this sense of is what I really wanted to teach about was God. The nature of God and how we grew in our relationship with God and all that. So this just kept coming up, and I kept pushing it aside, and it kept coming up, and it got so strong that by my senior year, I was either going to have to choose to go on and get my teaching certificate or graduate and see about seminary. And so I was kind of in a tension and dilemma. And so I wrote my dad. Once again, very different person from me, but I appreciated his advice. So I wrote him, and I wrote him and I said, this just keeps coming up. Every time I think about what I want to do, this just keeps coming up. And I said, but I just don't think I'm a good enough person. I don't think I'm good enough to do it. What do you think? And I was kind of hoping he'd write back, you're not. Yeah. I've lived with you for 18 years. You're not a good enough friend. What are you thinking? I don't know what exactly I was thinking he was going to say. But what he wrote back and said was, don't worry about being good enough. Nobody's good enough. Don't worry about that. He said, God's at work in you. Listen. God's at work in you. Listen. What a gift that was. And so I come back to that over and over again. God's at work, not just in me, in us. So listen. Pay attention. And maybe you'll find your life when you pay attention. So this Father's Day, I'm reminded of that gift my Father gave me so long ago. A gift that really, really helps me every time I remember it. And I'm extremely grateful for it. And so my hope for you all on this Father's Day is that you find something or someone that you can be grateful for. And if it's a someone, let them know. Happy Father's Day.